Today I thought I'd take you through one of the projects that I did with friend Dave, and George Beer came up one time and helped us as well. But basically what we were doing was trying to take lake water and of course ultimately salt water in the ocean and convert it using a water maker. And the sounds in the background are the successful completion of finishing that project and getting my water system to convert salt water to fresh water. So I'll give you a bit of a rundown of how I did it. I wanted to be able to do a freshwater rinse of the boat when we're in salt water. So I needed to be able to take water from the house tank. I just want to be able to rinse the salt spray off the windows and stuff like that. The other thing I wanted to be able to do was, of course, just take raw water from the lake or the ocean to do a bow rinse or an anchor rinse. And then we also wanted to be able to make water for consumption. There was a water system on the boat before that was UV and charcoal filters. And so what we've done is basically rebuild this so that it comes through a sea strainer, then goes through a pre-filter, a charcoal filter, and then it goes through the water maker on to the UV disinfection system and then dumps right into our tanks. And our water maker is about a 30 liter per hour water maker. So our tanks are 500 liters, which means we'd be running for a long time if we wanted to completely fill our tanks. So I'll just give you a quick rundown of what we've got here. We purchased a Schenker Zen 30. We had looked at basically two systems, but what we liked about this one was how compact it is. You can see here's a standard, bottle of water, and this is the Zen 30, which can be vertical or on its side. This hose here is our brine discharge, and I wanted to not drill any more holes into the boat. So I've put a one-way valve or a check valve in the hose so that it can only go outbound, and we hooked it up to the shower drain, which also has a one-way check valve, and they both tee up to a half-inch line that then goes to the overboard discharge. So it's dumping water out, but it isn't getting into the shower sump, and the shower sump doesn't get into the brine discharge. And that's working really well. We'll start down at the intake. So down there is the intake from the seawater or freshwater lake. We come through our filter. It then comes here, and this T-junction will do two things. Number one, if this is turned on, it goes up into the water system, but it also will continue on in a hose that heads back to my raw water pump, which will then allow me to do raw water washdown if I have this shut off. Right now, as I said, we're making water, so that's turned on. So water continues up, and at this point, this T-junction here does two things. One is it's taking, for a flush, we need to use fresh water to do a clean water rinse of the system, especially in salt water. But right now, it's basically taking the water from the lake and eventually the ocean, coming through into the pump, then back out of the pump. The pump is what's pulling it up along here and over to this this primary or pre-filter. Then there's a charcoal filter, and behind that is an accumulator tank, and then the water comes out of the accumulator tank and then comes into this Schenker water maker system. And then once it is generated, what we call product water, it comes out of that blue hose at the back there, which heads up over and into our UV filter system, comes out of the UV filter system, back over here, and then there's a shut-off valve, mainly because if I'm actually taking water on at the dock, it can backflow through there, so I have a shut-off That will become a check valve at some point, but what I bought doesn't fit, so I need to figure out how to make that work with PEX. But basically that is an adapter that goes right into our water tank right there, and then it goes down and into the water tank. So it needs to do a flush, and to do a flush you have to take fresh water from your water tank. So this is a T into our regular water tank, which is connected to this hose, which comes down and along and up into this charcoal filter on this side, and then this valve allows it to come into the charcoal filter, and then this check valve is opened and closed based on the demand of the system, and that is the line that comes back and up and to the other side of that T that we talked about a little earlier, and that allows us to flush the system. So for the electrical on this installation, I had to run positive and negative lead to the pump. I put some loom around the wiring just to keep it nice and tidy. This cable here is the connection for going over to the button that controls the unit, and this cable here goes to the solenoid that will control the water flow. So if we come over here for the electrical, here's our button, as you'd seen already. But I didn't go back to the breaker panel. What I did is I put a little, well, I guess for lack of a better expression, I put a little breaker panel in here, and I have a positive bus bar and a negative bus bar right in the tank room here, and so I was able to do fairly short runs. So ultimately I wound up with a larger diameter wire than I needed, but it's fine. I'm pretty happy with the final installation. The system really works well. I did put a button on the wall, which I can show you over here, that I flush mounted, and that button there basically controls the flush or the water making process. As I said, we're making 30 liters an hour, so it's quite a long time. We're going to run it for probably 4 hours today, which will give us 120 liters, which is more than sufficient to last us for the weekend. And really, we're just kind of playing around with it, getting the hang of it, so that we know what we're doing when we get to Bahamas and have to rely on this for our majority of our water making. So I hope you enjoyed this. I know I didn't take through a step-by-step installation, but it's basically just electrical and plumbing.
I have made fire!